Hello and welcome back. In the previous video I showed you the default plugins to install, how to install them and where to get them from. In this video, where I have just in between the last video and this video, I have gone ahead and finished off installing those plugins. Now let's look at the tweaks, the settings that we need to do for each of them. So I'm just going to activate a Kismet, and it says there activate your Kismet account. You basically got to create a Kismet account. Get your API key. Now that's opened up a new window. Get a Kismet API, click on that, and now we're going to create an account. Now in this instance I don't yet have an email address that is for this website that I've just created. So I'm going to go over to my hosting cPanel, come down to the email section. Now I can either create a normal email account or I can create a forwarder. Forwarder is quicker, easier, faster, simpler. So just click on add forwarder. I'm just going to type in here, just create a new one. I can put Duncan at harbourmathstutor.co.uk will forward to my head at tutortube.com. Add that forwarder. So now anytime there's any mail that is sent to Duncan at harbourmathstutor, it will get sent to head at, which would come to me, or at least a copy of it will, and the rest of my team. So I'm just going to copy that and drop that back in here. If you're setting up your own tutor website, you probably want to create a genuine normal email account, but for now you can start with creating a forwarder, and then later when you have time go back and set up and create a proper email account which you might install into Gmail or into Outlook, etc. So then just create your username and your password, click sign up. Demonstration purposes I'm just going to use the basic, get started, and this slider here, let's slide it down to 0 so it's free, and then put my name in here, continue, and we get this shiny new API key. All we've got to do is copy and paste that. So I'm just highlighting Control C to copy, and I'm coming back here, manually enter an API key, drop that Control V into there, use this key, and that's it. Akismet is now active. What this is going to do is filter out known spam comments, questions, etc. So it's just going to save us a lot of the hassle and work that comes with having a site that some spamming idiots try to attack. One quick decision to have here: silently discard the worst and most pervasive spam so I never see it. I would just go with that. Save changes. So that is Akismet done. Back to plugins. Next one, all-in-one SEO. There's quite a few little tweaks to set for this. Some of these plugins have 0 settings to worry about. Some have quite a few. Let's go up to all-in-one SEO. Up in the top left here. These general settings, all absolutely fine as they are. Homepage settings. Here is where we want to add some default home title, home description keywords. So I've just paused the video recording and banged in some text here. Just a quick note over how and why I've done this. I've got my keywords that I would want to be found for SEO purposes, and I'm blending in human interaction with this as well. It's got to be intriguing. People have got to want to read it and click through, not just read it and go, okay, fine, thanks, and read on down the other Google results. We're writing this for Google at the moment. So I've written an explanation of what we do in this entirely hypothetical website that I'm creating here, and I've deliberately asked a question: how much help do you need to draw people in, because people are usually inclined to answer a question by clicking through and reading to the rest of the website. So that's why we've done this. We're trying to get a bit of sales element, a bit of intrigue, a bit of asking a question to get people to click through. What you want here is a click through. That's all. Keywords, just put for your own purposes the notes of the keywords of what you do. The keyword settings here, keywords mean pretty much nothing. I've just thrown them in here for your own notation here. I would disable them. They have no SEO, search engine optimization benefit as outlined by Google themselves, but if you want to put them in you can. I would suggest that you don't have tags as meta keywords, but it's probably better to just disable them. Title settings, so this is going to generate a meta title for each blog post or blog page. This is the meta title that is fed to Google that you would see in the Google results. Leave all of this as is, all absolutely fine. All absolutely fine. That you can leave. Display settings, leave that as is. Webmaster Verification, don't worry about this until you need it. If you're setting up Google Webmaster Tools, you can put a verification code in here to prove that the website, but don't worry about it for now. Google settings, you should hopefully set up a Google Plus account because it helps both your SEO and for your marketing purposes, and it'll help your website get found. So it does make sense to put your Google Plus profile details in there. I would suggest setting your site preferred name, whatever it is you want to call it, and also tick enabled for advanced authorship options. You can have them, you can have all of them. Those are the ones you want. And I'd also strongly recommend you put your Google Analytics ID in there. So when you've set up a Google Analytics account, copy and paste the UA number into here. What that will do is simply put that Google Analytics tracking code on every page throughout your website, so you can track what the users do, where they click, if they don't click, where they click back, what your bounce rate is. So strongly recommend putting your Google Analytics ID in there. No index settings here. I would no index the tag archives. Don't worry about that. You don't want Google to find it because it could be marked as spam and your site gets downed accordingly. Same for the search page. 404 page does not need to be indexed. And the others you can leave there. Scrolling down, advanced settings, you can leave them as default. Auto-generate descriptions, make sure that is ticked. You want that on, just so you don't have to write and type and define the description for every single blog page and post that you do. It will create one for you based upon text in the page or post. That is it for all-in-one SEO. Just click Update Options. Coming back to plugins, let's move on to the next one. Contact form. So we need to have a contact page. There's some basic default pages that every website should have: an About Us page, a home page obviously, a contact page, terms and conditions page. So all these things your website should have for the customer and for Google's purposes. Let's click on settings here. So this is really simple. All I'm going to do is copy that shortcode there and I'm going to paste it into our contact page. So earlier on we made a sample About Us page. Let's make a Contact Us page now. And all I'm going to do is simply Control V, paste in that form there, and that's it. Click Publish. So if I now view page, here we are, we've got our form for contact here. It's created all of this just from that plugin. Now coming back to the Contact Forms page, if I just click on this link here, this is the default created one. It's worth just having a quick check through, because you can reword the things that it says here. So do we want to call the submit button as send? We can rename that if you want. If I just click on these tabs across here, if I click on mail, you'll see it's taken the email address from the registered admin email and it's generated that one as what it's going to come from. Let's see it look as if it's from, and this is the message body that it's going to send to me. Messages, and there's some additional settings there. I would have a quick read through of these if you're happy with all of these default settings and the same in additional settings. And that is it for Contact Form 7. So let's go back to plugins. Next one here, Google XML Sitemaps. This is the sitemap generator. So if we come down to settings, XML sitemap down here. So we've got the URL of the sitemap is whatever site we're creating /sitemap.xml, and that's what we can feed into Google. And when we, at a later point, when we set up Google Webmaster Tools, within the Google Webmaster Tools we can give it this address of the site, because what it's doing there is saying, here is an index or contents list of all the pages and posts on our site that Google can simply look at this one sitemap regularly, each however frequent, in order to update your site or the indexing of your site. All of these settings here, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to want to change these. If you understand it, if you know what you're doing, change your way, but otherwise default, just leave it as it is. But that will be the sitemap address, your site /sitemap.xml. Back to plugins. Lazy load, you don't have to do anything, simply install it, leave it. Limit login attempts, we looked at that briefly earlier on. There's nothing that you need to change. There are settings that you can change, but you really don't need to change anything. Reduce bounce rate, again, you don't need to change anything. There are 1 or 2 settings that you can change in here. The default is absolutely fine. I would suggest you just leave that as it is. Back to the plugins page, SI capture, anti-spam, click on settings. On these SI capture settings, the only one I would add is enable capture on the login form, because that's where hackers could potentially try to hack in. You've got it on the register form, the lost password, the comments form, etc. I would put it on the login form just so you're a bit more protected. You've also got the limit login attempts plugin for that. That's going to help. This will help additionally. So I'll just tick this one, capture on the login form, update option. Back to the plugins page. Next one, Super Socializer. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Database backup and Smush. Smush has settings in theory, but there's nothing for you to change. Just leave that as it is, because we're using the free version. There's nothing to change. WordPress database backup, under tools backup, the option I would suggest you use is scheduled backup. I would use once weekly, email backup, and then schedule backup. That's that saved. Now back to plugins. Now we come to Super Socializer. There's quite a few options within this. So down the left it's got its own item menu section here, Super Socializer. Now to avoid this video being much longer than it needs to be, I'm just going to quickly give you a talk through of this. I'm not going to actually show you in great detail here. The instructions are fairly self-explanatory. You can just click through and read those. So social commenting, you can enable Facebook commenting within your site, as well as the WordPress ones. Shortcode FAQ, use these tabs on each of these up top there. Social login, you can use the details here. Social sharing, again make sure you use these tabs across here to get the specifications of what you want. This will enable the click here to share this blog post on Facebook type settings, and the like buttons here as well. So just as a quick demo example, here we are on the About Us page we just created, and this Socializer plugin has created these options here as well as these down the side here. So we've got all these different options for people to click and share and like, social like your content. So that's the end of this video, showing you the default plugins that I'd suggest you put on your site no matter what, and the settings to use for those plugins. Don't forget, you can go to wordpress.org/plugins and just find whatever you want. You will probably find a plugin for whatever it is you're trying to do on your site. Have a play, have a test, have a find. Things to look out for when you're finding a new plugin that you've maybe never heard of before. Look for when it was last updated, and look for how many stars it's got, so the ratings it's had, and how many active installs it's got. If it's got loads of people using it, they're rating it highly, and it was recently updated, it's a thumbs up. It's worth using. If it's not been updated for 2 years, you probably want to steer clear of it. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video, where we will look at how to change the appearance to something a lot more sexy, a lot more attractive than this plain old boring theme that we've got here. One of the great things with WordPress is its customizability of its layout. We can just go and get another theme. We can lay on another platform on top of this, which I'll talk through in the next video.